Hey YouTube, vamos amigos. What's up? We're back. Day 2 of our Euro previews here on the YouTube channel. Thanks so much for following the Elite Sports Network. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll be doing a video every single day for the entirety of the Euros group play and probably into the knockout stages, if we're being honest. Thank you to EliteFantasy.com for allowing us to bring these to you for free here on YouTube. Make sure you check out EliteFantasy.com for all of your daily fantasy needs. And look, these are probably going to evolve. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about this time. Outside of, we're going to talk about 3 games. Day 2 of the Euros, coming off a hot start here. Italy winning 3-0. I told you it was going to be 2-0 yesterday. Just missed it. Actually took a bet on Italy to win 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1. Took a loss there, but very, very good game. Interesting first half from the Turkish side. Didn't really come out of their shell much. Created no chances. Didn't really get involved. Stuck in at all. Sat very, very deep. I had them picked third prior to the tournament. Feeling very good about that right now. Meanwhile, Italy looked awesome. Awesome in all facets of the game. We're going to break down these 3 games coming to you here. Let's make sure we jump over to this screen. So if you haven't yet, make sure you check out EliteFantasy.com. This is where I put all of my articles up, and we have a ton of information. Obviously, we've got a bunch of sports here: MLB, basketball, NHL, MMA, PGA. All of our optimizers are in there, which we're actually going to take a look at here to get started. From a DraftKings perspective, tons to love. And just from our first game there, let's go ahead and choose everyone here. Select all. Our highest projected player, shocker, Christian Eriksen from the biggest favorites, Denmark. Lukaku second, obviously very goal-dependent player on a favorite there who's playing away, technically, as the home team. Ricardo Rodriguez, another set-piece taker, another penalty taker. Carrasco's a dangerous player. Anyway, all these are over at EliteFantasy.com. But what we're going to do now is talk about every single one of these games. Not a ton to recap from the Italy game. Each one of these episodes will spend a little bit of time talking about what we learned from that day's action. Just one game, not a ton of time to spend on it. So let's talk about Wales, Switzerland. The odds right now currently sit Swiss plus 110, the rightful favorites here, but a low total, and you'll see I have the over clicked. We'll talk about why here in just a second. Wales plus a half a goal, minus 130, in the first half, total sitting at 0.5 and 1. Juice even, minus 105 on each side. And for those who don't know, when we split the total like this, it means half your bets on 0.5, halves on 1. So if you get to 1 goal, you push half, win half. If you get to 2, you win both. You're stuck on 0, you lose both. Don't be a loser. Don't do that. Let's talk about the game itself, though, because it's an interesting setup. And I think there's one player who's going to be key here. And if you're looking at this guy and saying, Jordan, the little mighty mouse that could, that's who I'm talking about here. If we go over to the tactics board, as you can see, I've been playing with it a little bit, trying to figure out exactly how it's going to be set up. Wales typically play with 3 at the back, 4 across the midfield here, and then pace up top, which is all well and good. And they're certainly going to look to hit them on their counterattack here. But if you look at the way we'll build up from the Swiss perspective, let's say we start with Akanji. He comes out to Schär, and, of course, Rodriguez drops in here. Freuler shows there. We're probably going to have Ramsey or whoever's playing this role here step in to prevent this pass. Otherwise, Bale comes here, and we find an easy pass to Rodriguez, and that's when either Seferovic checks into this space, or most likely these two occupy the back 3, and Shaqiri has a big window right here to then come in, attack, dribble out a defender, or even take it out wide, get across in the box. Fantastic. Let's say we don't want that to happen. These two then sit deep. Well, now we're numbers up. Across the back, we're 3v3 here, but we have 2 players who are relatively free in the midfield. Rodriguez, who's man-marked by the right mid, right wing-back role, and then Sheridan Shaqiri, who's covered up by these 2, but we have Xhaka and Freuler who are free here. Not great situation, too easy to build out of the back, and these 3 can easily cut apart with one pass. So Veldy to Xhaka, he turns, we play into space. And Babu's down the line, we're 3v3 here. Too many situations where we're numbers up. We're 3v1 here. We're 3v2 here. We're 3v2 here. We're 3v1, maybe 2 or 3 if they step in. We're 3v3, and now we have Fabian Schär into the target forward here. So essentially what you're seeing here, and what I'm trying to point out, is that Wales have a tactical conundrum. What do they do? Because they'll certainly look to hit them on the break, and with Dan James and Gareth Bale and possibly Harry Wilson up top, plenty of pace to exploit on the break. But do they keep them high or do they bring them back for solidity? So let's say we're building out of the back and then Bale tucks in here and James comes in here and then Wilson's in here. Now there's more space in behind for these to attack. It certainly muddies up the middle here. But now you're basically giving up half the field. You're starting your defensive pressure from midfield. Make it compact. We saw it from Turkey today. It's certainly something they could do. But then they're literally limited to hitting them on the break, which with this back three, Fabian Schär, Akanji, and Aveldi, likely to just collect any aimless long balls. Akanji, good pace. Schär, very good in the air. Aveldi, a little bit pacey. Plays right back, left back as well. A really good right center back. So if they just collect the ball, it's just going to be constant pressure, constant pressure. So eventually they're going to have to come out, and especially if they concede, they're going to have to come out, and that's where we find Mighty Mouse does most of his damage. I think Xherdan Shaqiri in this instance is going to be the key to this game. Now let's say Seferovic and Gav do occupy these three. Shaqiri then might actually work these wings, and then we're still 2v2 here. So we might get a situation where Shaqiri comes here, we're tucked in here, and then Rodriguez gets around the back shift. Shift from Mifin. Rodon comes here. Davies comes here. This is going to be a nightmare. Come with me, come with me. And now we're 2v2 in the box with Rodriguez here, Shaqiri pouring in, and then Babu bouncing on the right side. Again, we're just creating numbers up situations. There's plenty of opportunity here for Switzerland to find attacking opportunities. And it depends on how patient they want to be. If they want to go, let me grab this player here. If they want to come here, swing it to Rodriguez, maybe find Freuler, go back to Schär, swing it back around, they could have 60-65% of the possession, which is kind of how they play anyway. And Wales might not care if they choose to then sit deep, because ultimately what they're looking to do is hit them on the break. Aveldi and Babu, pretty pacey players. Dan James is in the top 95th percentile in pace. So depending upon how much space is in behind, he's certainly going to be an option. Gareth Bale getting up there in age, but certainly still has pace on him far more than Schär and Rodriguez. And clearly the talisman for Wales. That's who they're going to try to play through. So perhaps he hangs in here, finds a little space underneath Wilson, behind these back two and in front of the back three, and maybe tucks in a little bit and goes at the defense that way. For Wales, I just find there's too many issues as far as breaking down this solid Swiss back six, and back seven, actually, if you consider Rodriguez part of that as well, with just the three players, because these four are really there for defensive stability. Aaron Ramsey can certainly push forward, but with this numbers down situation in the midfield, I think he's going to have to do far too much defending. In saying that, why do I like the over? These guys are dangerous. If Wales can get a foot on the ball, if Ramsey can then join them in the attack and they hit them on the break quickly, perhaps let's say we play a ball over the top to Dan James, right? And Babu's pushed up. We're in possession here. Xhaka's here, Freuler. We got Shaqiri over here, Rodriguez. We get down, we cross the ball, we collect it here. Let's just say we collect it here. Bang, we play James in over the top. The Aveldi drops. Akanji comes with them. Certainly Harry Wilson's here. Bale's coming with them. Freuler's dropping in. But look at this. This is where, Xhaka with zero pace is going to have to use his brain to find this lane. Perhaps Ramsey can join and create an even numbers situation here on the break. But it's going to have to be incisive. It's going to have to be direct for Wales to find a goal. Mifam, Rodon, very good in the air if they do happen to get a set piece. I like both these teams to score, and so I'm going to take that at plus 130 is where I'm leaning right now. If you want to put one unit on it to win 1.3, you certainly can. I also don't hate the over 2. Remember, if we finish on 2 goals, we get our money back. 1, we lose. 0, we lose. 3 or more, we win. I like Switzerland to win the game. You can take that at plus 110, but I think we see both teams scoring here. And potentially the Swiss pushing on for a second goal. So I know it's the lowest total on the slate, but there's plenty of attacking talent from both sides to, once we do get in that final third, make the big difference there. From a DraftKings perspective, I talked about it in my article over on EliteFantasy.com, but we can certainly look from a Swiss perspective. Rodriguez is going to be our main man. I talked about Shaqiri. Projections for Mbabu's interesting here, a little higher than I would have thought. I actually have Gavranovic over Seferovic. He's the man in form. I see we have a 0 projection for him there. We'll get that updated. He's the man in form at the moment, and assuming they still play with the 2 up top, Seferovic and Gavranovic, I like him for a little bit of a price break there. On the other side of things, Wales, how can you not take Gareth Bale? Certainly the highest projected player here, but for 8,000, it's going to be a tough ask on DraftKings. Some variance there with the goal upside. Harry Wilson, Dan James could split some set pieces. Nico Williams, Aaron Ramsey, I think, is a little overpriced for his production, but if he can find that little gap, maybe not. Maybe not. But I think it finishes 1-1, 2-1 Switzerland, or maybe even 2-0 Switzerland. We'd push on our over bet and lose our bet there. So we're hoping not for that to be the case. But 1-1 is maybe the most likely scenario. So how about we move on to our next game here? We'll talk about Denmark and Finland, the biggest favorites on the slate. Denmark minus 235, Finland plus 775. Of course, this game is in Copenhagen. The home field here for Denmark, a total of 2.5 with even juice minus 110 on the over. No surprises here. Finland come in as one of the favorites to have the least amount of goals scored throughout group play, the biggest dog in their group, unlikely to advance, and with issues to their star player, Timo Pukki, for some health issues, certainly are going to struggle up top if he's not there. But let's take it down to the tactics board. Pukki is projected to start here as far as who scored is concerned. But look at this. We have a 4-2-3-1 against a very popular 3 in the back, 5 across the middle, and 2 up top with Finland. What's interesting about Finland is this box right here. I mean, this is what they do. They defend deep and then use these 2 players with one from the midfield to attack on the counterattack. That's all it is. So what's going to happen? I think possession-wise, we're going to be in that 65% range for Denmark. They're certainly going to have the more chances. They're going to have the more shots. They should have the more goals. But we have to have one of these players up top. Fend, Cornelius, Dolberg, probably one of the 2 big boys. Cornelius or Dolberg will start tomorrow. Eriksson in the hole. Poulsen, who's great in the air, decent with his feet. And Braithwaite, who adds a little pace. These 4 are generally who do the damage for Denmark. Daniel Voss certainly can get forward, has played some midfield. Højbjerg and Delaney are basically there to protect these 4, which is how they end up setting up. And then our left back gets forward as well. The issue that Denmark's going to have here is essentially they're going to have 4 people marking 2 in possession because they're going to start their line of defense around the halfway mark. Kjær and Christensen, which will probably be reversed. Actually, yeah, it should be reversed. Are going to be fine here, but they want to have numbers that are even there, so Delaney may sit in the hole, and then we might have something that ends up looking more like this in possession here. And what could happen is Eriksson, who's so good at sitting in the hole, is going to have trouble finding space. So if he can't get in behind and he can't find these little pockets, he tends to drop deep. And then maybe Højbjerg comes here, Delaney comes here, and then we end up pushing these guys up here even further. And so now we have a situation where we have our attacking mid, our left defensive center mid, and then Højbjerg playing with these 5 to find space and start whipping balls and connecting into here with maybe Voss overlapping. Poulsen comes in and creating opportunities there. That's not necessarily a bad thing for Eriksson's production because from a DraftKings perspective and from a game impact perspective, we just want him on the ball. We would prefer it to be in this area, but even if he has to drop deep to get it and start the play, I'm fine with that. Now, if Finland's a bit more ambitious and perhaps pushes one of these players forward, then Eriksson's going to be key in finding these little gaps, slipping balls through, especially to Braithwaite with his pace, or if he can somehow slip out wide in a little Kevin De Bruyne roll and play a ball in over the top to a Poulsen or a Dolberg or a Cornelius, find an assist there. More likely than not, it's going to be something random, guys, and it's hard to predict, but one of these fullbacks getting forward and putting a ball into the box. Perhaps Eriksson cleans up the clearance and has a shot on goal there. I do like the constant pressure from Denmark. I like the solidity of these 4 here for Denmark, Christensen, Kjær, Højbjerg, and Delaney to completely shut down everything that Finland can offer them. 2 big boys up top, but not a ton of pace. So the play on the counter is a bit counterintuitive. Forgive the line there. When we start comparing numbers from qualification, 2.88 goals per game for Denmark, just 0.75 goals allowed. We come down here. Finland at 0.16 is what they ended up with scored, and a goal allowed in qualification through 10 games. And remember, it wasn't a tough group that Finland has there. Not a ton to like from the Finnish side, and certainly from our projection standpoint, it's going to show that as we have Finland really with no one. I'm going to get rid of the Swiss here. Lod, who probably is going to take set pieces. Maybe Urinen, who's going to maybe play that right wing-back role. Same thing with the left wing-back role. Our big man up top who did the business when Pukki wasn't there, took PKs without Pukki. And then Pukki up top. And is that really what we're hoping for? It's just a penalty kick from Finland at this point. That's probably their best route to a goal, considering the lack of pace on the counter. I think it could be ugly, guys, honestly. I have Denmark -1, -2 at +170. I think there's decent value on that. And then Denmark first half. I like them to get off to a fast start. We look at their games. You know, Iceland, I think it was 1-0 at the half. Eriksson bagged the penalty, who is on penalties. This is an interesting game. I want to look at this. Belgium versus Denmark. Relatively even game, statistically very even as far as possession goes. Shots are even, corner kicks relatively even. Big chances, they're giving up the big chances, but that's kind of how Belgium plays. We're talking from a standpoint of talent, night and day between them and Finland. Shots inside the box, 7, and that's that slow, patient buildup that Denmark has that they're going to need here against the Finns as well. Even passes. This is the best team in the world, guys. Maybe second best from an international standpoint. Whether you like France or Belgium the most, they're hanging with them, they're scoring the goals. So we look at some of their other opponents, like Austria is a decent team in this Euro setup here. Denmark, even possession, but creating more opportunities. Shots on target, corner kicks, big chances created. This is the lineup that is able to scare teams that sit deeper, with Eriksson being that talisman in the middle. So I do like these. Denmark -1.5, -2, and Denmark in the first half. I think you guys can see that. Yep. And obviously, Eriksson's going to be very popular on DraftKings. If you head over to EliteFantasy.com, we'll do a more detailed breakdown in my article, and of course, jump in the chat room, have any adjustments for team news. Last but not least, we got to talk about the Ruskies. Russia in St. Petersburg takes on Belgium. If you're saying that might sound familiar, it's because it just happened a couple years ago, and Euro qualifying for this exact event. And you see what happened here. 4-1 for Belgium in St. Petersburg with relatively similar sides. The main difference being you'll see Eden Hazard, who's probably not going to play, and Kevin De Bruyne, who also started, who's not going to play. So 2 big stars. That's taking 2 goals away from it. But let's be honest. Let's be honest. The talent standpoint is nowhere near the same. Now, we can't talk about Russia without talking about their success in the 2018 World Cup on home soil. It's really the breakout tournament for Golovin and Marenchuk and Zuba to an extent, who's just a big goof who's now, 36 years old. Zhirkov could actually start at left wing back. I think he's 40-something. Like, this is just a team that has some cohesion, that Russian loyalty, nationality, love that they have there. Not a ton of talent. Zobnin, Ozdov, 2 defensive center mids there that are going to try to block up basically everything that we have. So this is how we set up here. Thorgan Hazard, Dries Mertens likely to start in place of Kevin De Bruyne and Eden Hazard. Thorgan, obviously the brother of Eden. Carrasco, he's really a winger. Lukaku, he's going to occupy literally all 3 of these players here. Mertens loves finding pockets here. Hazard, more of the same. Munir plays here. Tielemans gets on the ball and finds playmaking opportunities. Den Donker is really the guy that breaks up play, because these 2 basically act as your old school fullbacks. They'll push out very wide in possession. So essentially, if they're building out of the back, right? Let's pretend Zuba's here and we have Maranchuk, their left attacking mid. They're perfectly fine playing from Courtois to Vertonghen and here and keeping this shape. They like to have longer passes out of the back to make these guys defend more space. Because when they defend more space, it opens up more space, right? Even numbers. If they want to push in here, God love them, we're going to find Tielemans, is going to find Meunier, and we're in. So that's probably not going to happen. If they decide to push up, they'll play easily out of the back to Donker, Tielemans, and Carrasco, Meunier, easily play out of the back. So let's say we've advanced the ball, we've all recovered. They haven't created a chance. This back line's dropped into probably maybe around the top of the box. These guys are going to drop in as a true back 5. These 2 are always here protecting the back three and then Zuba will be in his own half as well. Carrasco's going to push up essentially as a left wing, like we talked about. Lukaku's occupying here. Constantly look for little slots to come through if one of Mertens, Hazard, or even Tielemans can drop in here and collect possession and look for that little slip pass there. But the production's really going to come from these four guys: Carrasco, Mertens, Hazard, and Meunier. He's happy to stay between the post and work these little channels and essentially create even number situations here where we're 5v4 or 4v4, excuse me. Vertonghen's here in support, and Donker's here. Alderweireld's now tucked in. Denier's now up here. Courtois playing like a sweeper key. I can't even move the damn goalie. We're having little combination play here where Carrasco finds Mertens, who then finds Vertonghen, who finds Carrasco, who plays Mertens. Then Carrasco goes in behind 1-2. Bang, we're in. Carrasco's here. Lukaku comes back post, pass, goal. That's how it's going to happen. We're playing a 2-5-3 at this point because Russia's going to sit deep with a true back four, and they're going to be hard to break down, which is exactly why you see the odds where they are. Belgium, maybe the second best team in the nation, in the world, coming in as just a -120 favorite. It's not really a sucker bet. It's more value on expected outcomes that I'm seeing there. The Russians, Moranchek's a good player. Zuba's dangerous in the air. They're very good on set pieces. They're very organized. I like Belgium to win to 0. The under is interesting, but there's no team in this tournament, France included, that can blow a team out quite like Belgium when they're running full force. If they get an early first half goal, all bets are off. If Russia has to come out of their Russian low block, all bets are off. I think this goes late into the second half with a very dominant Belgium team in the first, early in the second, maybe even similar to what we saw from Italy and Turkey today. But Belgium eventually nicks them in the end, whether it's 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 100-0, I don't care. Just give me the win. -120 is value for my money. I like Belgium there. From a DFS perspective, you guys figure it out, man. Plenty of options here. Lukaku obviously is going to be popular. Carrasco is going to be popular as well. Maybe a share of set pieces. Dries Mertens coming in, filling a tough forward spot with some set piece equity. I like him as well. Golovin, I just can't get there, man. I know it's a midfield spot at 7K, but it's a little pricey for how I want to have my build. But definitely a potential player there. And then certainly we'll look to the fullbacks as well. You can even take a stab on one of these Belgium center backs. Vertonghen's not bad. Can whip a cross in from a little bit deeper there. If we're talking about how they're actually going to play, let's say that we sit in here, and Tielemans is more here. Hazard's joined him. There is an opportunity for Vertonghen to find this space if Carrasco's challenging here and then put a cross into the box. He will advance far enough forward with Donker protecting these other two as well. So it's going to be a hell of a day of action tomorrow. 3 games starting at 9 o'clock. I'll be in the chat room for EliteFantasy.com at 8 a.m. bright and early on a Saturday morning. Plenty of fun. Once again, I like over 2 in the Wales game. Both teams to score yes. Denmark -1, -2, and I like them in the first half at a little bit plus money. I like Belgium to win. So there's 5 bets for you guys. Hopefully we go 5-0. Off to a great start, and we'll be back tomorrow for more Euro action. I am Duke. You can find me on Twitter at DukeDFS and find all my work over at EliteFantasy.com and EliteSportsBetting.com. If you liked the show, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow. Adios.